Health care must be recognized as a right, not a privilege. Every man, woman, and child in our country should be able to access the health care they need, regardless of their income. The only long-term solution to America's health care crisis is a single-payer national health care program. If you can't afford to take care of your veterans, then don't go to war. Nobody who works 40 hours a week should be living in poverty. Millions are unemployed and our roads and bridges are falling apart. If we can spend $6 trillion sending people to war, we can spend $1 trillion to put Americans to work, fixing our nation's crumbling infrastructure. Let's rebuild America and create jobs. The right wing in this country is waging a war against women, and let me be very clear, it is not a war that we are going to allow them to win. I am going to do my best to try to create a country in which children are not living in poverty, in which kids can go to college, in which old people have health care. Will I succeed? I can't guarantee you that, but I can tell you that from a human point of view, it is better to show up than to give up. Today, the United States is number 1 in billionaires, number 1 in corporate profits, number 1 in CEO salaries, number 1 in childhood poverty, and number 1 in income and wealth inequality in the industrialized world. Corporations can't have it both ways. They can't tell Americans how much they want us to buy their products, but then run abroad to avoid taxes or hire cheap labor. American corporations should pay their fair share of taxes and create jobs, decent-paying jobs here, not in China. Teachers did not cause this recession. Firefighters and police officers did not cause this recession. This recession was caused by the greed, the reckless, and illegal behavior of the people on Wall Street. If you can't afford to take care of your veterans, then don't go to war. Want to have a better understanding why we have a federal deficit? In 1952, the corporate income tax accounted for about 33% of all federal tax revenue. Today, despite record-breaking profits, corporate taxes bring in less than 9%. It's time for real tax reform. It is not the Congress that regulates Wall Street. It's Wall Street that regulates the U.S. Congress. If you are not prepared to take care of the men and women who put their lives on the line to defend this country, who came back wounded in body, wounded in spirit, if you're not prepared to help those people, then don't send them to war in the first place. It is an obscenity that we stigmatize so many young Americans with a criminal record for smoking marijuana, but not one major Wall Street executive has been prosecuted for the near collapse of our entire economy. If you want to defend the middle class, you don't cut Social Security, you don't cut Medicare, and you don't cut benefits for disabled vets. We have to pass pay equity for women workers. It is not acceptable that women are working for 78 cents compared to men. The fact of the matter is that, over the past 40 years, we have witnessed an enormous transfer of wealth from the middle class to the top 1%. In other words, we are witnessing the Robin Hood principle in reverse. We are taking from the poor and working families of America and giving to the very rich. The sad reality of today's America is that while the wealthiest people and large corporations are doing phenomenally well, the middle class is disappearing, and millions of Americans are working longer hours for lower wages. Congress must start listening to the needs of ordinary Americans, not just the billionaire class and their lobbyists. The United States must join the rest of the industrialized world and recognize that health care is a right of all and not a privilege. It is unacceptable that Americans pay by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. Instead of sheltering profits in the Cayman Islands, the largest corporations in this country must pay their fair share of taxes. It is an outrage that the CEOs of large corporations are calling for tax breaks while the middle class of this country is disappearing. Between 2008 and 2013, GE, Boeing, and Verizon paid no federal income taxes but received $4.1 billion in tax rebates. This has got to end. The gender wage gap has lifelong effects. The average yearly Social Security income received by women is $12,857 compared to $16,590 for men.